is an idea of knowing and being right. More knowing and being right is being more important than curiosity. Society encourages us to show the best part of ourselves, as if we were presenting people with our social media highlight reel, rather than the behind the scenes messiness that often exists. This morning, I am joining you via Zoom, being vulnerable and showing the behind the scenes messiness of being human and divine as I release whatever has invaded my body temple, which is not the truth of who I am. Therefore, I am choosing not to give it a name, to offer it any sort of temporary or permanent residence. An aspect of shaping up our worldview is playing out on the world stage with the war in Israel and Palestine and the potential to involve other border nations in the Middle East. Last night, I was watching a presentation by Marianne Williamson, and I'm choosing to share that with you this morning because I think it fits right in with our topic of shaking up our worldview as we play with the paradox. Marianne titles this Israel and Palestine, a perilous moment and a cry from the heart. And she says, the world is waiting tonight in a kind of death watch as Israel prepares for a massive invasion of Gaza. While I understand Israel's fury in reaction to last week's terrorist attacks, I share it. Actually, I cannot see where invading Gaza is going to do anything more than increase the cycle of hatred that already plagues the region. So many innocent citizens of Gaza, as well as Israelis, stand to lose their lives, and the question hangs in the air. What will this solve? What will come afterwards? How will this intensify the horror? Surely there is a better way. I am certain a myriad of world leaders are frantically trying to stave off this disaster. As any sophisticated person understands, the danger of this war could pose for everyone. The stakes and the risk are perilously high, and not only for those in the Middle East. I am praying that a miracle occur here, for a breakthrough to appear, that some leader or diplomat somewhere has a brilliant idea that forges a path to a real solution. A better way will emerge from the heart as well as from the brain. Despite it all, may love and justice prevail. May love and justice prevail. Science of mind is a spiritual philosophy and a practice that gives us tools and the ability to stay curious and to stay vulnerable. Staying open at the top, as Holmes is often quoted saying, allows us to have a bird's eye view of the many paradoxes of life seen through the lens of our humanity and our divinity, all leading to a better way. We expand and appreciate the knowledge and understanding, leading us on an incredible journey of curiosity. We experience returning home to our authentic self, healing past wounds, and learning that love is the way, and also learning to love what is. We're continuing the legacy of Ernest Holmes in a new way, allowing ourselves to utilize this teaching to stay in the question rather than know the answer. We stay in the question rather than know the answer. Approaching the unanswerable questions of the universe with playfulness provides us with a unique opportunity to simply be without needing to be right or to even know what is right. And I realize that this can be a very uncomfortable position for some people because we have been so programmed to make the distinction between what is right and what is wrong. Or we may remember that phrase that at least I grew up with. My parents would say to me, you know better, you know better. Well, when we know better, we do better. And so it's not about being right or wrong or even knowing what is right. It's staying in the question and allowing the playfulness and the paradox of life to reveal to us what is ours to be and do. Ernest Holmes writes this: we must avoid, however, the confusion which arises from a belief in final revelations, from the belief that all truth is at last discovered, or that some one person or some one system of thought has delivered the last word. There are no finalities in any science, philosophy, or religion. Through the continual emergence of the creative principle, any last finality proves to be but the beginning of another new creative series. This eternal spiral, finding its base in the everlasting reality, will never cease to emerge. And this is from the book, Discover a Richer Life. And what I really like about this is the part where he says there are no finalities in science, in philosophy, or in religion. And when we get to that point where we think we have arrived at the last finality, it only proves to be the beginning of another new creative series. Isn't that a marvelous way to approach life? It's like, this I feel is complete, and yet, what is emerging out of this? What grander idea is emerging out of this? The playfulness of curiosity naturally leads us to a place of shaking up our worldview. Letting go of our attachment to one way or another opens us to a place of recognizing the benefits and the possibilities of both and, which we are discussing in this series. And I offer both and thinking and practices allow love to prevail. And I think this is what Marianne Williamson is referring to in the piece that I shared with you, where she states that there is a better way, that some diplomat, some government leader, even some citizen is going to recognize that if we look at this from a both and perspective, that there is another way to resolve this conflict, to overcome the hatred that exists within the hearts of the people that are involved in this. Knowing that hatred is not a part of the heart. Hatred is a mindset. From the heart, there is love, and only love flows from the heart. Both and allows us to approach challenges and obstacles and problems with playfulness and curiosity. When we allow ourselves to step into a place of being wholly passionate and invested in the solution, passionate and invested in the solution, but with a low attachment to what the solution may look like. This is a key point to remember, a low attachment to what the solution may look like. And I believe that this is what gets us into that place of conflict, and sometimes perpetuates an ongoing conflict because we're so attached to the solution that we lose our passion about the solution. And we're attached to what it should look like rather than how it might appear. In spiritual mind treatment, we often say as part of our declaration, this or something better, when we are speaking our word into the universe. This is why in teaching spiritual mind treatment, we are reminded not to outline. We're not presenting spirit. We're not presenting infinite intelligence with a to-do list. You know, go do this, go see Mr. So-and-so, go see, take care of this world problem, take care of this crisis, take care of what's going on in my life. This is not how spirit operates. Spirit operates through the innate intelligence that is within each of us to arrive at a solution through spiritual discernment to whatever the seeming problem is. And this is why we say this or something better, seeking spiritual guidance for handling or holding a middle way. And by holding this middle way, we shake up our worldview because we have chosen to put aside any restrictions or any conditions that we have placed on ourselves. We have chosen not to take a side or an option, but we're staying open and curious, which keeps us in the potentiality that paradox allows. We're living in this world where we look for and draw people who are open and vulnerable, willing to show us their deepest, messiest part of themselves. However, we continue to struggle to show those parts of ourselves to others, feeling that they somehow represent a failure on our part. As I mentioned earlier, sometimes we opt to show our social media highlight reels rather than the behind the scenes messiness that often exists. And for those of you who are on Instagram, the social media highlight reels, you'll know what I'm talking about. Is where we show just a little glimpse of what the world of our dream is, if you will. We've attended an exciting event, or we're at some place where we're having a momentary experience of pleasure. And yet there's the messiness that is going on in our lives behind the scenes that we choose not to reveal because we feel that we may have somehow failed ourselves or failed others. We struggle to show those parts of ourselves. Releasing self-judgment and getting curious about the paradoxes that show up in our lives allow us to explore aspects of ourselves that feel vulnerable. And this, I believe, is what is being called for in the world now as we shake up our worldview, to explore those aspects of ourselves that feel vulnerable. And that is very scary. That is very scary. You know, we have this facade that we want to keep up that says, oh, you know, I have everything perfectly all together. In fact, someone identified that as an aspect of their view of me in my former community. You know, we were in a rather lively discussion about something, and the response was, well, you just have to be on all the time. You just have to present this perfect package. And while I know in the heat of that conversation that the person was expressing something that the anger allowed them to express, it also invited me to take a pause and examine how it is that I show up. Do I show up as all put together? You know, just stepping out of the latest fashion magazine. You know, everything, every hair in place, every I dotted, every T crossed. You know, all of that which we want to show up as an example of perfection. What I've learned from that experience and what I've learned from living life is that when I show up authentically, the messiness and all, that which I would declare as good and pristine and perfect, and that which I would declare as, oh, yuck, you really don't want to see this. It's in those places where I allow myself to be vulnerable and release self-judgment that the curiosity about life really reveals itself. I like this quote from Albert Einstein. He says, the important thing is to not stop questioning. Curiosity has its own reason for existence. And so our summary and our call to action this morning is a reminder to open ourselves to the paradox mindset. And this means being willing to play in vulnerability with curiosity and uncertainty, to be with the unanswerable, to just play in that field, to be open at the top, meaning we accept the challenges to remain in the space of questioning that comes from living a life in possibility and potentiality rather than knowing and certainty. I know for me, it's much more exciting to be in this place of possibility and potentiality. You know, it's like sometimes I feel like a little kid. You know, I'm asking the universe, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? What is going to reveal itself that brings excitement and passion? Staying open at the top allows us to explore the greater truths that await us as we continue to play with paradoxes and create a new world view. Let us say together now our weekly affirmation. I am living life in possibility and potentiality. Let us say that together again. I am living life in possibility and potentiality. And I invite you to join me in prayer as we take in a collective breath together, just breathing in the awareness of the presence of Spirit right here, right now. And in the release, releasing out into the atmosphere, love and peace and joy and harmony. And I invite you to know with me that peace prevails in every area of life. And I know this truth because I know that there is only one life, one source of all that there is. That source I call God. And yet I know that it is known by many names in many different traditions. And yet this one source, this one life force, is that place of peace. It is that place of love that unites all of its creation. How good it is to know that I am one with this creation. I am an individualized expression of peace and love and joy and happiness and spontaneity and all that this marvelous light has to offer. And as I know this truth for myself, I know it for each one, everywhere, right here, right now, recognizing all of creation as an individualized expression of the divine. And as I shift my worldview and let go of attachments to a specific outcome and enjoy the journey, enjoy the curiosity, be open to the vulnerability that curiosity presents, I know that everything unfolds in divine, right, and perfect order in my life. And what is true for me is true for all. And so I speak my word this morning, declaring that there is peace in the world. And that when there is peace in my heart, there is peace in my mind. And when there is peace in my heart, there is peace in my mind, and there is peace in the world. And so I'm calling forward this highest idea of peace to prevail from my heart, expressing itself out into all areas of life, all areas of humanity throughout the entire world. And again, as I know this truth for myself, I know it for each one, everywhere, at all times. I speak a word of blessing this morning for those who are experiencing difficult situations that are appearing as vulnerability and challenges, knowing that the Spirit is always saying, I am with you. I am with you. You are a part of me. And there is nothing that together we cannot accomplish. And so I am knowing right livelihood. I am knowing right and perfect housing. I am knowing absolute help. I am knowing perfect alignment with spirit, perfect alignment with the integrity of the universe. And I am knowing that all questions resolve back into the answer of yes. And so, for this and so much more, I am eternally grateful as I release this word, as I release this treatment back into that law, which always says yes, just allowing it to be so. I invite you to affirm it with me as we say together, and so it is. You know, one of the downsides of being on this end of the Zoom call is that I can't hear what's happening in the congregation, and I'm missing that feedback. So I am knowing that the responses are just absolutely perfect and resounding as they always are. And this is our opportunity now to practice the law of circulation through our abundance and sharing of our treasure and our time and our talent. We have an affirmation of abundance that I invite us now to say together. I recognize the presence of God within as a source of my abundance. Out of my abundance consciousness flows everything I could desire in life. With gratitude and thanksgiving, I now participate in the flow of uninterrupted abundance. This prosperous experience is evidence of my abundance consciousness. And so on our screen, there are ways to participate in the law of abundance. You may mail in your tithes and your offerings to the center at 400 West Franklin Street in Monterey, California, 93940. You may text to give at 831-246-9694. And you may also donate online to our website, montereycsl.org. Thank you for your continuing support of our spiritual community. Your donations allow us to continue to do our work out in the world. There are a couple of community events that I would just like to share with our family. Remember, for those who are in the center, to take advantage of the Shop October pre-holiday bargains at our Windows bookstore liquidation sale. Thank you for the way that you have responded. There was really nice sales last week, and I know that as we continue to offer the books that are related to our spiritual practice of science of mind, as well as books by other New Thought ministers and practitioners and authors, that you will be inspired. You may also do your Christmas shopping there for jewelry items and crystal items that are in the bookstore. So swing by, and there's probably something that you didn't see the last time you were there. So we thank you in advance for taking advantage of that. Soul Collage will not take place this Sunday. We will reconvene next month for Soul Collage on November 19th. Next Sunday, following our celebration service, will be our monthly spiritual living discussion group. And the theme for the month of October is playing in the paradox. And so we have some time this morning for some sharing. If there's anyone who would like to share a demonstration in your life, how the law